It's a pleasure for me to be in this beautiful place at a beautiful time of the year. I just really am charmed by it. So thank you for inviting me to participate in this educational forum. I was asked to present how are national levels for ozone set. And so I'm going to talk to you about the Clean Air Science Advisory Committee. I'll first talk to you just a little about the Clean Air Act, on which the Clean Air Science Advisory Committee, or CASAC, I hope you'll let me use that acronym, CASAC is based. Then I'll talk to you about the review process for the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS. Then I'll zoom in on the ozone standards and how they were set, and just briefly give you a hint about a new NAAQS review process that has been proposed for the future. The Clean Air Act states, and this is by law, that the EPA administrator shall set national ambient air quality standards of two types. There's the primary and the secondary. The primary standard is meant to protect public health. The secondary standard is meant to protect the ecology, the crops and the wildlife, the weather, the visibility, etc. So it's more of an ecological standard. The Clean Air Act states is that it should be based on the judgment of the administrator. But Congress, in its wisdom, didn't trust the administrator to know everything he had to know about setting the standards. So the Act says that the administrator shall appoint an independent scientific review committee composed of 7 members that includes at least 1 member of the National Academy of Sciences, 1 physician, and 1 person representing state air pollution control agencies. So out of the 7, 3 are designated. The standards should reflect the latest scientific knowledge. So this is why you require a committee that is made up of scientific experts. It does not require a 0 risk level. For the primary standard to protect public health, it has to be set with a margin of safety. The margin of safety is to address uncertainties associated with inconclusive scientific and technical information, and to protect against hazards not yet identified, and to protect sensitive subpopulations. The EPA must set these standards without regarding the cost of implementing the standard. That comes after the standard is set. Now for the ozone standard in 2008, the staff paper options, and remember this is developed by the EPA staff itself, they said that the administrator should consider the standard in the range of 60 to 80 ppb, parts per billion. We recommended that the primary standard be lowered to 60 to 70 parts per billion. There was a very strong statement in our letter to the administrator that said that there was absolutely no justification for maintaining the current, at that time, the current 80 parts per billion standard. There were clinical studies and there were epi studies that showed that there were effects at that level. Now, why go down to, why choose 07? Why go from 06 to 07? The concern is definitely for this margin of safety. There was an experimenter named Adams who had done clinical studies on exposing healthy adults, not sensitive adults, healthy adults, to ozone for 6.6 hours. He saw a statistically significant effect at 80 parts per billion. At 60, he did not see a statistically significant effect for the group, but there were individuals within the group of healthy adults that were affected in a significant manner. So we said, well, that indicates that for a margin of safety in concluding asthmatics, we need to go down to a range of 60 to 70. Now note that the CASAC doesn't recommend any specific standard. That's not their job. It's supposed to give a range within which they considered that the administrator would be comfortable in setting a standard protective of human health with a margin of safety. The Science Advisory Committee did not consider 75 parts per billion to be protected with an adequate margin of safety for the primary standard